Hey everybody, it's Brina, and I want to welcome you back to the Midweek Motivation. Hope all is well. Thank you for tuning in. As always, every Wednesday we go live at 12 noon Eastern. So whether you're listening live right now or you are tuning in a little later, thank you for taking time to join us today. So the word for today comes from Luke chapter 14, verses 28 through 32. And reading from the NIV, it says this, and this is Jesus speaking. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete it? For if he lays the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule him, saying, "This fellow began to build and was not able to finish." Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Will he not first sit down and consider whether he's able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he's not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. All right, so the word for today is count the cost. And Jesus is teaching this in the context of what the cost is of being one of his disciples. But we see that this can also apply to other areas of life as well. And that's kind of what I want to focus on today. So, how many of you, I'm raising my hand ahead of time, have built a home? Or how many of you have bought something that needs assembly? Before you do these things, we should consider what it takes to be able to build the house, to be able to put together something that needs assembly. If we're putting something together, if it's got 1,000 pieces, we should really consider if we're able to do it, right? Or if this is just something we should leave on the shelf. So, this is what counting the cost is all about. And I'll give you a real life example for me. When I was considering going to seminary, not only did I research various seminaries and various schools and programs, but I also researched the financial cost, how much would I have to pay, how long possibly could it take me to complete my seminary degree. Uh, was I able to do it in light of everything else that I was involved in? So I counted the cost before I said, okay, yes, I'm going to go to this particular school and I'm going to get started. So, what does counting the cost mean? It means considering the time, the effort, the resources that it will take to complete a particular project. It also means considering everything else that you're doing. If you're working full time, if you have a business, it's taking those things into consideration as well. It also means looking at who might be able to help you. If you're trying to put together or assemble something, maybe you need to call in a friend who's really good at putting things together to help you with that. And it's even looking at what the end result will be. What is it I want to get out of doing this thing, right? What is the end result of putting forth all of this effort? And is it worth it in the end? So, going back to a more spiritual point of view, when God tells us to do something, of course we are to be obedient, but we should also pray and ask for clarity to make sure that this is the voice of God that we're hearing to move forward in a thing. But I believe it's also important that we begin to do some kind of due diligence so we can understand to a certain extent what it will mean to do this thing that God has called us to do. Now, if God has said do it, we don't have the option of not doing it after we do our due diligence. As believers, we should be walking in obedience. And we may not have all the answers. We may not be 100% clear of what it will take. And in a lot of cases, I would imagine that we're not 100% clear of what it will take to walk in a thing that God is calling us to do. But nevertheless, we do pray about it for sure. And then we try to consider what it may mean for us as we move forward in this. But regardless of whether we have all the answers, we as believers are moving forward in obedience. So, counting the cost, it is important. We're looking at what it may take for us to achieve this thing. And then, as believers, we're walking in faith and walking in obedience, believing that God will give us everything that we need to obey His word. So, I hope that word is helpful for you today. Count the cost before you move forward in a particular thing. And